Yo gamers, what's up? It's Goldman12 back with another Zenless Zone Zero video, and today we've got the countdown to launch, and well, we got a couple things, right? There's a variety of content I want to do, right? I have plans to do, and there's just a lot going on. It is what it is. But in this video, I want to talk about something that I know a lot of players are interested in, and it's not going to be a heavily edited one like my previous ones. It's going to be me mostly talking, and we'll also pull up, a few videos from Hoyoverse, and other creators showing off characters to get my point across and all that stuff. So for this video, it's not actually this tier list, right? Even though I do have my problems with this, maybe I'll talk about this later. But for this video, we're actually going to be talking about Ellen Joe versus, I believe her name is Zhu Yuan, right? The other limited character that is releasing in version 1.0. As you know, or should know by this point as well, the game is about to come out, right? Is what it is. So we actually do have these two limited characters who are both very strong in their own right. However, more people, from what I can tell, are interested in Ellen, as she's the current character. She's gonna be the first one available out of the two, and she seems to be a fan favorite as everybody likes her design and all that stuff, right? And so really, again, with the point of this video is, have a minute long intro. Who should you summon for, right? Between the two. And I'll tell you right now, as like a TLDR, I think depending on who you are a fan of as a character, or if you're worried about meta, I actually think Zhu Yuan would be better to pull for versus Ellen. Now, I'm an Ellen fan. I like Ellen. I do want to pull her. However, at the same time, I'm also a fan of Mabai, who is competing for the exact same role as her. So that's an important thing to know. And then there's also the team comp that needs to be talked about, right? Because this game has a very small roster at launch, and teams are going to be very important for what you want to run. And that's why looking at this is like a good reference for who you're going to run in what slot and all that stuff. So that's really that. And then there's also the two banners. Uh, I should have pulled those up before doing this. So give me 1 second. All right, so I've got the two banners pulled up. We have Ellen's banner first, which is going to have Sakaku and Anton. I don't know why I'm forgetting their names all of a sudden. Anyways, and then we have Zhu Wan's banner, who's going to have Nicole and Ben. Now, both these banners are actually very good. All three of the characters on each banner are actually pretty solid, all things considered. Now, granted, you'd look at this tier list and be like, no, wait a minute. But there's some things you gotta be clear here about. So both Nicole, Ben, and Sakaku will be free. Anton will not be free. So if you are looking for him because you're a fan of him, you'd be more inclined to summon for this banner. But of course, again, 4-star pity that exists, and as well, we don't know how rare forces are going to be on the banner with how many they're going to introduce. So we'll have to see how that works out going in the future. We do know for a fact that they're already going to add new 4-stars at launch, being Lucy and Piper. And then, of course, there's going to be more past that they showed during the live stream. So I would expect to see maybe even both of them in, well, both Lucy and Piper should be in 1.0, but the other characters, they should be in 1.1. So if you're looking forward to any of the other characters shown during the live stream that are not in 1.0, right, which is going to be I'm not even going to list them off. Point is, there's gonna be a bunch of those characters that were in the live stream. About 3 of them, or I think 4 if I count correctly, won't be in the game until it's 5. Sorry, 5 of those characters in the live stream won't be in the game until at least 1.1. So do keep that in mind. As well as, again, Mabai, who's gonna share the same role as Ellen in the first place. We don't know when she's gonna come out. We'll see. That being said, why might you want to summon for Ellen without liking her? Or, well, I guess you would like her if you are going to summon, but what I mean is that what is a reason to summon for Ellen? Well, right now she currently has the strongest team in the game, without question, because of her faction mainly. Her faction is Victoria Housekeeping, which is a really strong faction overall because it's got essentially all top tier characters, right? You have Rena, Lycan, Ellen herself, and then obviously Corrin, which on this list they disrespect Corrin clearly, but that's besides the point. Um, with these 4 characters, right, they're all very strong and they actually do all work very well together. Ellen on her own is really great with Lycan, as Lycan is a huge stun unit, and they'll also proc each other's passives, getting the bonuses to proc. So that's going to be huge for team synergy. And you can also use Arena as your, slot 3 to not only get shock anomaly procs, but then also get distortion, I believe is what it's called, as another damage increase for the team overall, right? Or of course, if you use Corrin, it's going to be the same thing to where with those two together, you'll get both anomaly procs that will proc that extra effect, dealing more damage, as well as ice is already one of the strongest elements in the game. And so Ellen right now has a really strong core team comp overall. And of course, if you're free to play, you could probably use someone like Ambi. But right now, Ellen has the strong team comp core that's even on her own banner, right? Because Sakaku is the ice support in the game right now, and she actually received buffs going into 1.0. So Sakaku's even stronger than she was back in the beta, right? Because she got buffed, and so that's huge. And so if you were to summon for Ellen, you'd be effectively getting her other team member, and then hopefully from the standard banner, or maybe if you lose 50-50, you pull Lycan, right? So right now, Ellen already has a really strong team comp that's currently the strongest team in the game, and that's going to be pretty much her core going on because again, these two will have the synergies. Maybe in the future, Shikaku gets replaced as an ice support. Gonna be hard to say. She's got some pretty powerful abilities, giving you like it's like upwards of 20% ice damage. But I actually have the changes pulled up here. But I believe it was like upwards of 20% ice damage bonus for the whole team. Yeah. So the whole team gets 20% ice damage bonus. You can also give everybody like 1,000 attack, like upwards of 1,000 of attack, which is gonna be huge. And then as well as if you get her fourth dupe, you'll be able to get rice. Yeah, rice. Yeah, you can get rice, guys. Lovely. You'll get ice penetration, right? So that's gonna be huge for your damage overall. And so this banner has insane value in terms of the meta right now and making it strong, and as well as insane value in the future. Because like I said, Mabai is the same role as Ellen, and Sakaku getting that fourth dupe is gonna be huge for characters like Mabai as well. Sakaku's going to be Mbai's best teammate for that exact reason. They're in the same squad, but they're also both ice. So regardless if they weren't both ice, you'd still be getting the damage bonus from the core trait, right, for having the same type allies. But again, this is just kind of preparing you for Mabai when she comes out. Or I'm probably saying her name wrong. It's probably I'm whatever. I'm just gonna keep rolling with it. Point is that this is gonna be her best teammate in the future because of what Sakaku does, right? So that's important to keep in mind. As for Anton, Anton is not seen nearly as favorably. He is the current like go-to shock DPS as a 4-star. However, we're most likely going to get a shock DPS 5-star in the future who's just going to be better than him. That's just sort of how rarities work in these games where you got a really strong 5-star that comes out, they beat out the 4-stars, right? That's pretty much what it is. He's going to be a solid character for you to pull on. However, I don't know if free to play should invest into him if you are at all worried about meta. Of course, if you like him, you're going to level him up and stick around for my channel. I'll tell you how to make him good and all that, right? But his value in terms of like account value is lower than other characters might be, right? Ellen, for example, is going to be, again, the current really strong character, and she'll be strong in the future. It's just she might be power crept because of her placement and other characters, like, again, Mabai, for example. So, yeah. Typically in these games, 1.0 characters do get power crept. It just sort of is what it is. I don't foresee Ellen getting power crept too hard or too early, especially with the quantity of characters they're releasing. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. I do think Ellen is great and worth summoning on. And again, for all these reasons I listed, her banner is really strong. I just don't think Anton is the most appealing for a lot of people, right? As to where Sakaku is great across the board because she does a whole lot. And that's really that. I could yap more about it, but I don't think there's too much to say. We can talk about character dupes. That is at least for me personally, that's hard to like range how valuable they are because I haven't touched the game myself or know enough to really determine how strong these dupes are, right? They sound really strong, giving her a bunch of crit overall because they both of these give her crit, and so there's a huge value there, as well as penetration ratio, which is going to be defense penetration in this game, which again, minder, the stats in this game are going to be different than other Hoyo games. So that's going to be important to keep in mind. So we'll see how strong the dupes are, right? And at least for myself, I'll have to figure out how strong they are. But as of right now, Ellen is very appealing for people looking for a very strong DPS at the start of the game to clear content fast, right? Plus, she has that special run. That's sort of a quality of life feature that you can run around the stages faster and just clear content that much faster because of the special run. So that's really that. Um, okay, so now instead of glazing Ellen for like 10 minutes straight and why her banner's really good, we need to talk about Zhu Yuan and why she's actually arguably better to summon for than Ellen, right? Reason number one, she's Ether. Uh, Juan is going to be the second Ether character in the entire game. That's right, we only have one right now, as to where every other element has multiple characters, right? Three or more. Uh, Zhu is the second, right? Quantum, uh, not Quantum. Jesus, I'm having a brain moment. Ether character. She's gonna be an Ether DPS character. Now, the reason she is directly better is mainly because of Nicole and how strong Nicole is as a support. Again, she also got some buffs going into this update. Now, there is one change that they made to her that I think is a bit questionable in terms of overall viability. They changed Nicole's ability, her sixth dupe, from being anomaly reduction down to crit, right? So you can see here, originally it used to be anomaly res build up to 42% reduction or 44% reduction, which is actually really strong because this means overall that you can proc more anomalies and get more damage out of it. But they changed it to where it's up to 15% crit. I think this is still a good passive. It's great generally, and it's actually makes it better for the weaker elements. However, for those strong elements, again, like ice and whatnot, I actually think it would have been better to keep the anomaly one. Again, it's here nor there on the Nicole changes, but specifically for this banner, Nicole is on the same banner as the not quantum ether DPS. I'm gonna mess that up so much, aren't I? But yeah, Nicole being a support for this element is actually going to be on the same banner as the DPS for the element. So this is also going to provide very good value. Ben is also on the banner, who is the only defensive character in the game. He provides shields and buffs your crit, right? And they actually gave him a very sizable buff for his damage. So he's actually going to be really strong now. Again, it's not going to be reflected in the Pride 1 tier list because I don't think they are aware of the changes. And I also think they're just wrong with some of these picks, but that can be for a separate video. But again, the point is that both these characters received massive buffs. Nicole getting a stronger debuff, energy on character swap, and extra energy on one of her dupes. And then Ben overall got a really strong buff by making his conversion from defense to attack up to 80% over 30. And then he also buffed his shield whenever he does his EX special. So that is a huge buff for his kit, which this it massively increases his value across the board because now he gives it even stronger shield and you can keep that crit buff longer, right? And reminder, this is the only defensive characters in the game. So if you're a bit of a more skill issue player and you need the defensive utility, Ben is going to be massive for you. And just overall, he's going to be massive for anybody because of that extra crit rate, right? He's going to be a fantastic character, and then that buff to his damage is going to be just fantastic as well, as he'll actually contribute more to the team and provide better synergies and all that stuff, right? Nicole still provides the same bonuses she did before with getting the I believe it's the this where they take 25% more ether damage, which is huge. I'm actually gonna scroll back down to it. Make sure they didn't remove that. Yeah. Yeah, again, this 20%, this 20 energy is huge, right? But the main thing here is that this massive buff right here to where whenever she uses her core passive, they take 25% more ether damage. This is going to be huge for Zhu, and as her current best team is actually a very free-to-play friendly team. It is AMB and Nicole, right? So it's going to be characters you already have. You're going to be summoning for a dupe of a character you already have, who's actually going to be the best in slot support currently for, Zhu Yuan, right? And most of this is because she doesn't have her faction. Once we get the future faction members, maybe she'll be given more opportunities. But right now, your core team is very free to play friendly. And while it may not be as strong as Ellen Joe's, it's giving you the option of running a Ether DPS. And in the end game, right, you're gonna want to type match your enemies. You're gonna want to have the appropriate enemies to fight and the appropriate element to fight them with, right? Because they're gonna have certain weaknesses, high resistances, all that stuff, right? And so the value of Zhu Yuan for having being an ether DPS is much higher than Ellen, who is relatively soon, I would say, gonna get replaced by Mabai as a limited 5-star DPS character, right? It is unfortunate that they are releasing two characters of a similar role relatively soon, from each other. Again, I would like them to drip market so we can know who's coming up next, right? But there is a conflict of roles between people who like Ellen and Mabai because they're covering the same thing versus the only other Ether DPS who is very free to play accessible, right, as of right now. And so I think for a lot of players, it's actually going to be a smarter idea to summon for Zhu Yuan as her banner is holding huge value, having a Ether support, and then a very strong defensive support. In fact, the only current defensive support in the game right now. And so this to me screams value banner versus this one screams, oh, I'm summoning for meta reasons sort of thing. Zhu is just as good as Ellen without Ellen having Lycan, right? Ellen's full team right now is stronger, but we need to see what the future units are going to be for Zhu Yuan to see how strong she will be. Right now, I do think her banner provides that more intrinsic value as a free to play. But again, both are very solid options to summon on. You can't really go wrong. It is 1.0. If you're being smart about this, you could just save and wait for trip marketing to see. At the end of the day, I always think you should summon for who you like and stick around for channels like mine. Again, my channel, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Hit the button to where they'll tell you how to, play those characters to their, most effective, way, right? That's really about it. Yeah, I guess that's really all the reasons I have for the video. That being said, I've already talked about pull income in the other videos that I made. I can't say for certain whether or not you'll be able to get both of them. As I said, I think we're getting about 150 or like 160 standard, or not standard, limited summons. I could be off about that. Again, that's a prediction from somebody else, not me. So we'll have to see. It's technically possible to get both if you're lucky, but I don't really know. But yeah, that's basically really it. You can't go wrong with either one. I do think Zhu Yuan has more value though, as she's the only Ether DPS in the game, right? That's like the number one thing, and as well as having a free to play accessible team. So yeah, as I already said, like, subscribe, comment, check me out on Twitch too. It'll be in the description. Tell me your thoughts on this down below. Who you're summoning for? I myself, despite the fact I like both Mabai and Ellen, I think I will summon for Ellen just because I like her. And if I don't, I also don't think I'll get Zhu Yuan. Because I'll be real, I'll just summon for more copies of Mabai. I don't know. I'll have to see how things play out. I could just try to get everybody, to be honest with you. It is a new game, but yeah, I'll be doing it free to play, right? So if you are interested at that at all, stick around on stream later today. And yeah, I won't take up any more of your time. Perhaps I'll do a Pride Win tier list video, right? But just for me yapping today, and unfortunately for gameplay reasons, I didn't pull it up. You can pull that up on your own, which character's gameplay you're more interested in, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna waste any more time. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. See ya. Bye. Like, subscribe.